Have you ever felt a heavy, silent storm rising inside your chest for no apparent reason at all? That sudden tightening, the racing thoughts, and the overwhelming fear are not signs that you are broken. Long before modern psychology existed, Buddhist masters understood that anxiety is not an enemy to be fought, but a visitor asking to be heard. When we stop struggling against our restless minds, an ancient gateway to profound healing finally opens. When fear grips your heart, your brain instinctively enters a state of survival, signaling danger where none truly exists. Neuroscientists have found that during moments of deep anxiety, the brain's emotional center becomes hyperactive, hijacking your inner peace. Yet, ancient monks discovered a simple truth thousands of years ago. You are not your thoughts. When you observe your racing mind without judgment, the brain naturally begins to calm its alarm system, restoring stillness. An ancient Buddhist story tells of a young traveler who was relentlessly chased by a phantom monster through a dark forest. No matter how fast he ran, the creature grew larger and terrifyingly closer. Exhausted, the traveler finally stopped, turned around, and looked directly into the monster's eyes, asking what it wanted. To his absolute astonishment, the phantom began to shrink until it vanished completely. What if your anxiety operates in the exact same way? Running away from uncomfortable feelings actually fuels the very fire we hope to extinguish. Modern psychological research supports this ancient insight, demonstrating that experiential avoidance only intensifies inner distress over time. When we resist our anxiety, we inadvertently teach our nervous system that our internal sensations are dangerous. The Buddha taught that freedom begins the exact moment we sit quietly with our discomfort, offering it gentle space rather than bitter resistance. Consider the simple nature of ocean waves. They rise with intense energy, peak, and inevitably dissolve back into the vast sea. Your anxious thoughts follow the exact same natural law of impermanence, known in Buddhist philosophy as anicca. Clinical studies indicate that emotional surges biologically last less than 90 seconds unless we feed them with continuous worry. By simply breathing through the rise, you allow the wave to crest and fall naturally without drowning in it. Why do our minds build terrifying scenarios about a future that hasn't even happened yet? The answer lies in our evolutionary wiring, designed to anticipate danger to keep us alive. However, when this natural protective mechanism runs unchecked, it creates endless phantom suffering. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that the future is merely a thought appearing in the present moment. Returning your attention to your physical breath instantly grounds your brain back into safety. Scientific research on the vagus nerve now confirms what ancient meditators experienced through deep, deliberate breathing practices. When you extend your exhale longer than your inhale, you trigger a physiological signal that immediately slows your heart rate. This physical action communicates directly to your brain that you are completely safe right now. You do not need to fight your mind. You simply need to anchor your body into the gentle rhythm of life. There is a subtle trap in spiritual practice that even dedicated seekers frequently fall into, trying to use meditation as a weapon to eradicate anxiety completely. When we meditate with the urgent demand for peace, we create subtle friction within ourselves. Buddhist psychology teaches us to replace control with curious, loving awareness. Instead of asking how to make fear disappear, gently ask yourself what this feeling is trying to reveal about your inner needs today. Imagine holding a cup of clear water filled with fine sediment. If you shake it wildly, the water becomes cloudy and turbulent. But if you simply set the cup down upon a table, the dirt naturally settles to the bottom on its own. Your mind functions in precisely the same manner when overwhelmed by anxiety. You do not need to forcefully clean your thoughts. You only need to allow them the quiet space to settle naturally. Neuroscience reveals that our brains possess neuroplasticity, meaning every moment of conscious calm rewires our neural pathways for lasting resilience. Each time you choose gentle awareness over panic, you physically construct a quieter internal landscape. Healing is not an overnight transformation, but a soft, daily return to your own center. As you walk this path, remember that the sky remains vast and clear, no matter how heavy the passing clouds may temporarily seem. Have you ever wondered why telling yourself to calm down during panic rarely brings true peace? When anxiety surges, Intellectualizing your feelings often creates a deeper layer of resistance that keeps your nervous system on high alert. Buddhist philosophy teaches that true transformation does not come from thinking our way out of fear, but from descending into direct somatic experience. By gently feeling the physical sensations in your body without fighting them, you invite genuine release to unfold naturally. In the quiet depths of an ancient monastery, a young novice once asked his master how to deal with constant inner restlessness. The master handed him a delicate wooden leaf and asked him to hold it still in a strong mountain gale. When the novice struggled in vain, the master smiled and said, "Do not fight the wind. Bend softly like the young bamboo." Modern psychology terms this psychological flexibility, the gentle willingness to stay open despite life's turbulent winds. Neuroscientists studying long-term meditators have made a fascinating discovery about how our brains process emotional discomfort. When we experience anxiety, the brain's default mode network becomes hyperactive, weaving repetitive stories about our perceived shortcomings and fears. However, when we anchor our awareness directly in sensory experience, this self-referential loop quietens almost immediately. The simple act of noticing your feet firmly touching the earth can instantly shift your brain out of story mode into present reality. What if the fear you experience today is actually an accumulation of unexamined thoughts from your past? In Buddhist psychology, these mental patterns are known as sankharas, deep habit channels carved into the mind through continuous repetition. When an anxious thought arises, it flows down these familiar grooves without your conscious permission. But here lies a powerful secret. Every single time you observe an anxious thought without reacting, you weaken that ancient neural pathway forever. A famous Buddhist parable speaks of a man hit by an arrow who then begins complaining about who shot it, what wood it was made of, and why it happened. In doing so, he suffers twice over. The first arrow represents the raw physical sensation of anxiety, while the second arrow is our endless internal drama about that sensation. Medical science indicates that while we cannot always prevent the initial trigger, we possess full power to dismantle the second arrow. Consider how often we mistake our temporary mental states for our core identity. We say, "I am anxious," rather than, "I am currently noticing feelings of anxiety passing through me." This subtle shift in language creates profound space between your true self and your passing emotions. Behavioral scientists have discovered that self-distancing techniques reduce physiological distress significantly. You are not the storm raging outside. You are the vast, untouched space in which the storm takes place. Why does anxiety so often intensify late at night when the rest of the world goes quiet? When external distractions fade, our suppressive mechanisms drop, allowing buried emotions to float upward toward awareness. Instead of viewing night anxiety as a setback, Buddhist teachers encourage us to view it as a compassionate signal from the body. It is an opportunity to hold your fears with the same gentle tenderness a loving mother offers a crying child. Clinical researchers exploring mind-body medicine have discovered that practicing loving-kindness, or metta, alters stress hormone levels across the entire body. When anxiety grips you, your body produces cortisol, preparing you for an external threat. By intentionally directing thoughts of warmth and safety toward yourself, you flood your system with oxytocin, neutralizing fear at a cellular level. Ancient monks understood this biological miracle instinctively, using compassion as the ultimate salve for a troubled mind. There is a profound concept in Eastern philosophy known as Wu Wei, or effortless action. It reminds us that forcing peace is like trying to smooth turbulent water with a flat iron. Your very effort creates more ripples. When anxiety visits, refrain from frantically trying to fix yourself. Instead, take a deep breath, sit comfortably, and allow the universe to carry the burden for a few quiet moments. True healing unfolds when effort dissolves into surrender. As you move through your daily life, remember that peace is not the absence of noise, but a quiet space residing within the noise itself. Modern life will continually throw unexpected challenges your way, yet your internal anchor can remain unshakable. Every breath you take in conscious awareness rebuilds your innate capacity for profound calmness. Trust in this timeless wisdom, for the path to healing is already unfolding beneath your very feet right now. Have you ever noticed how anxiety loves to hide behind the illusion of urgency? convincing you that every thought demands an immediate solution? This invisible trick keeps your nervous system trapped in a perpetual loop of fight or flight. Ancient Buddhist masters observed that the mind's natural state is spacious and quiet, like a clear glass of water. When you refuse to react to every urgent impulse, you strip anxiety of its authority, discovering a quiet power that was always present within you. A famous Buddhist tale speaks of a master who asked his disciple to bring him a bucket of dirty water from a nearby pond. After waiting quietly, the master asked the student to look into the bucket again, showing him that all the silt had settled naturally to the bottom, leaving crystal clear water. Modern neuroscience confirms that when we stop stirring our thoughts through rumination, our brain's emotional circuitry resets itself, allowing innate clarity and calm to resurface naturally. When we struggle against inner turbulence, we unknowingly feed energy into the very suffering we wish to escape. Psychological research on stress physiology demonstrates that fighting emotional pain triggers a secondary release of adrenaline, amplifying physical tension throughout your body. The Buddha called this practice radical acceptance, the brave act of letting things be exactly as they are in this moment. By softening your resistance, you allow your body's natural relaxation response to awaken quietly. What if the quietest place on earth isn't a secluded mountaintop, but a sacred refuge inside your own chest? Ancient monks spent lifetimes cultivating this inner sanctuary through mindfulness of body and breath. When fear creates chaos around you, bringing your attention back to the sensation of physical breathing acts as an anchor in a raging storm. Studies in brain health show that mindful breathing physically thickens regions associated with emotional self-regulation and emotional stability. Consider how an artist paints a masterpiece. Every brushstroke requires patience, space, and a steady hand. Healing your relationship with anxiety requires the exact same gentle craftsmanship over time. When uncomfortable feelings return, avoid judging yourself for having them, as judgment only creates deeper layers of frustration. Buddhist psychology invites us to replace harsh self-criticism with unconditional kindness, understanding that healing is not a straight line, but a continuous series of soft, compassionate returns home. Why do we often feel so exhausted after a long day of mental worrying? The brain consumes immense biological energy attempting to solve problems that only exist as future possibilities. Lifestyle medicine recognizes that chronic mental worry strains our nervous system, draining vital energy needed for physical well-being. By anchoring your awareness in the simple sensory details of your current surroundings, you immediately stop this invisible energy leak, allowing your natural vitality to regenerate effortlessly. An ancient teaching reminds us that mind and body are two branches growing from the exact same root. When your physical body is tense, your mind interprets that tightness as evidence of external threat, fueling anxious thoughts. Scientific research into somatic therapy demonstrates that consciously relaxing your shoulders, jaw, and stomach sends immediate safety signals to your brain. You do not need to fight your mind. Simply release your physical body, and the mind will follow. There is a profound moment in every storm when the wind pauses, revealing a quiet space of perfect stillness behind the noise. In Buddhist philosophy, this unshakable quiet space is known as tathata, the underlying reality of pure presence. When anxiety feels overwhelming, remind yourself that the storm is merely occurring on the surface of your awareness. Deep within, your true nature remains completely untouched, calm, and eternally safe from any external or internal turbulence. Imagine carrying an overfilled basket of heavy stones up a steep mountain path. With every step, the burden feels increasingly unbearable. Many of us carry our anxieties in the exact same way, holding on to past regrets and future worries simultaneously. The Buddha asked a simple question: why not put down the basket right now? Dropping your mental burdens is not irresponsible. It is the first necessary step toward finding real strength and true internal clarity. Neuroscientists have discovered that the brain constantly rewires itself based on what we choose to focus on most repeatedly. If we continually nurture fearful thoughts, our neural pathways for anxiety become stronger and more automatic over time. However, every single time you consciously return your attention to a state of calm presence, you build new neural highways of peace. You possess the power to shape your inner world, one conscious breath at a single time. What if the relentless noise in your mind is simply an ancient habit waiting to be unlearned? In Buddhist psychology, we recognize that anxious thoughts are driven by underlying mental momentum, much like a wheel that continues spinning long after you stop pushing it. When fear surges, you do not need to forcefully stop the wheel. Simply step back, withdraw your attention from the narrative, and allow the momentum to exhaust itself naturally in spacious awareness. An ancient master once walked with a fearful monk through a dense dark forest at dusk. Hearing distant thunder, the young monk panicked, fearing a destructive storm was imminent. The master paused, held out his hand, and gently pointed to a single lotus blossom unfolding silently in a small pond beside them. "Look here," the master whispered. "The storm is merely passing overhead, but the blooming of your inner peace happens right where you stand." Modern neuroscience reveals that our physical bodies store unexpressed emotional tension within muscle groups, contributing directly to chronic mental anxiety. Clinical research shows that when we hold fear in our thoughts, our shoulders tighten and our breathing grows shallow, creating an endless feedback loop of distress. Ancient body scan practices break this cycle by systematically relaxing every tension point. When you offer physical ease to your body, your brain immediately receives the signal that all is well. Consider how a mighty oak tree withstands intense winter storms. Its roots extend deep into the quiet earth, anchoring it firmly against ferocious winds. Your breath serves as those exact roots for your restless consciousness. When life brings unpredictable challenges, returning your focus to the gentle rise and fall of your lower abdomen grounds your nervous system. You become unshakable, not because the wind stops blowing, but because your roots run deep into present reality. There is a subtle truth about human suffering that modern behavioral science strongly reinforces. We rarely suffer from present facts, but from our internal interpretations of those facts. When anxiety arises, we immediately label it as bad, creating secondary emotional panic. Buddhist masters teach us to drop labels entirely and meet our sensations with pure, non-judgmental curiosity. By simply observing tight chest sensations or a rapid heart rate as raw energy, fear loses its terrifying narrative power. Why do we spend so much energy worrying about whether we will be strong enough to face future troubles? The truth is, strength is never required for tomorrow. It is only ever needed for this single, passing breath. Modern psychological research shows that anticipating pain multiplies distress, whereas staying anchored in the present moment dramatically lowers cortisol levels. You possess everything necessary to handle this exact second, and that is truly all you will ever need to manage. In ancient monastic traditions, monks used gentle sound vibrations, such as deep bell tones, to break spellbinding loops of anxious rumination. Sound therapy research now confirms that resonant auditory frequencies can induce alpha brainwave activity, shifting the nervous system into deep rest. When your mind spins out of control, find a single natural sound around you, like rain, wind, or birdsong. Allow that simple auditory sensation to gently pull your consciousness back into peaceful presence. Consider the immense freedom found in learning to drop the weight of perfectionism. Anxiety often stems from an obsessive need to control outcomes, keep everyone happy, and never make mistakes. Buddhist philosophy teaches the wisdom of wabi-sabi, honoring the beauty found in life's natural imperfections and cycles. When you accept that life is inherently uncertain and imperfect, the desperate need for absolute control dissolves, leaving behind a tranquil heart open to whatever comes. When deep anxiety makes the world feel overwhelming, remember that you do not need to solve your entire life today. Ancient masters emphasize taking one mindful step at a time, keeping your awareness bounded strictly within immediate experience. Brain health research confirms that breaking overwhelming situations into microscopic present actions prevents cognitive overload and calms the amygdala. Simply focus on making this next breath calm, this next step conscious, and this present moment gentle. As you cultivate this gentle path of awareness, remember that true transformation is not about becoming someone new, but about uncovering who you have always been beneath fear. Deep within your spirit lies an unshakable well of quiet strength, untouched by past regrets or future worries. Every moment of conscious stillness brings you closer to this timeless truth. Trust the process, Hold yourself with infinite compassion, and let your inner wisdom guide you back home. Have you ever noticed how anxiety flourishes in isolation, tricking you into believing that you alone bear the heavy weight of a restless mind? In truth, the fear you feel is a deeply shared human experience, connecting you to millions across the globe. Ancient Buddhist psychology calls this recognition of shared vulnerability interbeing. When you realize that your inner struggle is not a personal failing, but part of the vast tapestry of human existence, isolation dissolves into profound self-compassion. A story is told of an old master who sat beside a turbulent mountain river with an anxious student. The student complained that his racing thoughts were like the rushing water, impossible to quiet down. The master pointed to a calm side eddy where water pooled smoothly against the shore. "Do not try to stop the river," the master advised softly. "Simply step out of the current and rest in the still waters near the bank." Scientific research into neurobiology demonstrates that our brain's fight-or-flight response is largely governed by instinctual physical conditioning. When anxiety triggers rapid breathing and muscle tension, your nervous system mistakenly confirms that danger is present. However, by deliberately softening your facial expressions, unclenching your hands, and relaxing your belly, you physically rewire your brain's assessment of safety. Ancient meditation traditions knew this mind-body mirror intimately. When the body adopts the posture of peace, the mind inevitably follows. How often do we prolong our emotional suffering by clinging to the expectation that life should always feel calm and comfortable? In Buddhist wisdom, attachment to ideal emotional states is recognized as a primary root of inner suffering. When you grant yourself permission to feel anxious without demanding immediate peace, the internal conflict vanishes instantly. Freedom is not the absence of uncomfortable feelings. It is the spacious capacity to hold all feelings with equanimity and gentle grace. Consider the quiet wisdom of a mountain enduring a passing thunderstorm. Fierce rain lashes its slopes and dark clouds obscure its summit, yet the mountain remains completely immovable at its core. Your true awareness possesses that exact mountain-like stability. Modern clinical psychology calls this emotional grounding, the ability to remain rooted in present physical reality while mental storms rage around you. You are not the storm passing through. You are the vast, enduring mountain beneath it all. Why do we spend so much mental energy fighting feelings of vulnerability, treating them as signs of weakness? In ancient spiritual traditions, vulnerability is recognized as the fertile soil from which true wisdom and courage bloom. Behavioral science confirms that accepting our emotional vulnerability reduces psychological strain and fosters deeper resilience. When anxiety reveals your delicate human nature, meet it not with harsh judgment, but with the boundless tenderness you would offer a cherished friend in need. Neuroscientists have discovered that practicing gratitude triggers dopamine and serotonin release, effectively shifting brain activity away from fear centers toward pathways of contentment. When anxiety fills your mental landscape, your focus shrinks exclusively down to perceived threats. Buddhist mindfulness breaks this narrow hyperfixation by opening your awareness to simple present blessings: the cool air entering your lungs, the soft ground supporting your steps, or the quiet beauty of a passing morning light. There is an ancient Buddhist meditation instruction that asks us to treat every rising thought like a cloud drifting across a boundless spring sky. Clouds come in many forms. Some are light and fluffy, while others are dark and heavy with rain. Yet, the sky never fights the clouds, nor does it attempt to hold on to them. When anxious thoughts appear, simply let them drift through your open mind without clinging, knowing the sky remains untainted. Imagine standing before a clear mountain lake at sunrise. As long as the water is disturbed by waves, the reflection of the surrounding mountains remains distorted and fractured. But as the wind dies down and the water becomes perfectly still, the entire majestic landscape is reflected with flawless clarity. Your mind operates under the exact same natural law. When you allow your emotional turbulence to subside naturally, the innate wisdom of your true self shines through effortlessly. As our journey together comes to a close, remember that healing anxiety without medication is not about achieving a state where fear never arises again. It is about transforming your relationship with fear so that it no longer dictates your choices or obscures your peace. You carry within you an ancient, unbreakable light that no storm can ever extinguish. Walk forward with soft courage, breathe deeply into this present moment, and rest in the quiet sanctuary of your own heart. If this ancient wisdom brought peace to your heart today, please like this video and share it with someone who may be carrying a quiet burden. Subscribe to Divine and Spiritual 369 to join our journey of timeless mindfulness and healing. May you walk with soft courage, breathe deeply into this present moment, and rest peacefully in the quiet sanctuary of your own heart.